this is Brian with WorkshopAddict.com. I have in my hand DeWALT's new 4.5-inch small angle grinder. It's DWE402. It's always fun to look at a tool and how they've improved on it, on one that you've had that's a fairly similar model from before. Well, the model I have didn't replace this. This model is a DWE402. The actual model that replaced it was a D28402. But the big difference between the model that I just showed you that I have that is probably from 2003 in these new models was the way that they took air in to cool the motor. They wanted to make sure that these tools were built for professionals, they'd last a long time, and the dust extraction was very important to tool longevity, along with power. But first, they made sure that the dust that got in the motor did not affect the actual brushes, so you end up with a much longer brush life. And then on top of that, they wanted to make sure that this was more powerful than the last model they had, so they have more copper inside the motor, so they raised it up to an 11 amp motor. Using this thing for grinding, and you can put some pressure on it, you can tell it has more power. They still kept the very slender tool, the grasping area for it, so that you still have great ergonomics when you're using it. You can get it into small places. And from the model that I have, the old 402, the guard is a single hand guard if you want to move it. It only moves one way around, and there is a little detent pin that if you need to move it back, you can. Very easy to use the guard, and as I'll show you later, it's also very easy to take it off. There are two models that you can get of this. One is with a slide switch, and another with this paddle switch on the bottom. The paddle switch on the bottom has a safety lever on it, and it operates very easy. You just simply push the safety down and then push the switch in and you're running. There's also a lock on here so that once you push the safety switch in and push the other button down, it will lock it running for better ergonomics. Another one of the main improvements in this model is it's cooler than the previous models. So it's got more power, it's cooler running, and it's got better ergonomics in its class for a small angle grinder. I'd like to take a quick second to show you what some of the older grinders are like and what some of the new ergonomic grinders are like, so that you can get an idea of why you might want to upgrade if your older grinders are still working well. One is the spindle lock. On here you can see it's just a small metal button. On the new one, it's a larger plastic button that you push down, holds everything in place. On this older one, you had to get out a Phillips screwdriver to adjust the guard or remove it. Not bad, but kind of a pain when you're just in a spot and you don't have all the tools with you. They have very, very similar paddle switches on them. The lock to keep the paddle switches in the back, now it's off to the side. You can see here that the air or the cooling power for the motor goes in on the side, kind of where all the dust is. Now it goes in the back, and it still comes out the front where this one came out and blew things around up front. So they've made it a lot better. Both can still take the handles on both sides. But one of the main differences that I'm not sure I like or don't like is that the new one, the flange takes an Allen wrench. Well, at least in two of the sides. And while I think I like that, because if you lose it, it's easy and cheap to buy, but it's also something that I wish it's small enough, I can't find where I can store it on the tool. It would have been awesome if there was a place where you could put this baby right in there and you knew you always had it with you without it getting in the way. It will also take the old standard if you have it in the two other holes. So you can use it either way. The removal of the guard is excellent. Simply turn it off, you get it in the right place, and it pops right off. Getting it back on is as simple as getting it again in the right place, which I've had a little bit of trouble with, but again, I'm not lining it up just perfectly. You push the button and it goes back in. Much easier than some of the other ones that I've used. Overall, DeWALT says this tool is going to come out for about $89. I hate mentioning prices in these videos because they do change, but a great deal for a more powerful, longer lasting professional tool. So if you're interested in one of these, check them out at DeWALT. Stop by at workshopaddict.com, talk to us about tools. We also can have you subscribe to this channel or ask us some questions on the bottom. We do our best to answer every question that's out there. Thanks for your time.